Hey, world, what up? So, we do have a blockbuster trade in the NBA with 30 days approaching the NBA season. We do have both the New York Knicks and the Minnesota Timberwolves, two teams who went far into the playoffs, with the New York going to the second round against the Indiana Pacers, 7 games, who had, barring many injuries, were not able to play the Boston Celtics in the conference finals. And you do have the Minnesota Timberwolves in the Western Conference leading that team against the NBA champions, the second round team as the Denver Nuggets, finishing off in a 7 game historic fashion to beating Jokic and the crew. And you have to remember when it comes to the New York, or not, or excuse me, my bad, the Minnesota Timberwolves, they were up 2-0 that series against Jokic and the crew, and they fell short to the Dallas Mavericks in 5 games against Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. Now, you do have the Minnesota Timberwolves who are in a situation of keeping the core or potentially making a move. They was the break and trade of them trading away Karl Anthony Towns over to the New York Knicks over for Julius Randle, Donte DiVincenzo, and a first round pick via Detroit. Now, this was a shocker in the NBA landscape side of things. As the New York Knicks, I'm excited going through with this trade. You did have Julius Randle, who was injured within the playoff series against the 76ers and the Indiana Pacers. And he spent around 5 seasons or so with the New York Knicks, around playoff performances or so when it comes to that. But you do have Karl Anthony Towns now going in the Eastern Conference, and the New York Knicks also did bring in Mikal Bridges within that trade for the 5 first-round draft picks. You did bring in Cameron Payne as well, Landry Shamet. Who else did they bring in? Precious Achua, Marcus Morris Sr., or just Marcus Morris, and a couple other pieces are in the mix as of right now. So the New York Knicks right now are in full title contention mode. And even though they traded away a vault of their draft picks, they still have their best players around 27 to 29 years of age, and pretty much in the young prime when it comes to it. So they're in all now win mode. I don't blame them one bit. They still have the chemistry of Tom Thibodeau's crew. I still expect this to be a college defensive culture and these teams feeding off each other and playing like dogs. I think their time is now, and I don't blame New York Knicks when it comes to this trade side of things. From Minnesota's standpoint of view, I know they wanted to move off his contract and keep certain players and such, but I'm not the biggest fan of Minnesota when it comes to bringing in Julius Randle. I know he's a bully ball type of player. He's around 29 years of age in the league, approaching 30 or so. And coming with it, I'm not the biggest fan of him playing with Anthony Edwards and kind of that dynamic of Julius Randle at the 4, and then you do have Rudy Gobert at the 5. I believe it didn't clog too much of the paint last season because Karl Anthony Towns does play the 4 and able to shoot over 40% from the 3-point range. So I'm curious to see how Minnesota will develop in that stage of things. But they did bring in Donte DiVincenzo, who is a huge backup player, a combo guard who can be able to shoot the 3-point range. So let's cover more of our thoughts when it comes to here.
In exchange for Julius Randle and Donte DiVincenzo. Here's what this trade looks like, guys. So the Knicks and T-Wolves finalizing that blockbuster deal, as you just saw. So they would bring Karl Anthony Towns for Julius Randle, DiVincenzo, a top 13 protected first-round pick in next year's draft. The Hornets are also involved to make the deal work financially. Big Perk back here with us. Perk, what do you think? Did the Knicks get better by acquiring Cat?
Yes, I would definitely have to say so. The New York Knicks, as of last season, they were the second round, my bad. They were the second seed right behind the Boston Celtics, and that's the team everyone's looking against. Now, the Boston Celtics, I don't expect them to be a scary team. I think teams think they can still match up with them, but they're still formidable and respectable as they won the NBA championship. As I'm looking at the Eastern Conference as of right now, I have different tiers. The first tier, I would have the Boston Celtics with the New York Knicks as true title contenders to represent the Eastern Conference. My tier 2 as of right now, I'm going to have to put around 3 teams. I'm going to put the 76ers. I'm going to put the Orlando Magic, who I believe are going to be a true underdog team that people need to keep their eye out as a sleeper, and the Indiana Pacers. My third tier, I'm going to have the Milwaukee Bucks, the Cleveland Cavaliers, and the Miami Heat within there. And then the rest of the remaining tiers, there's going to be the teams who are not going to make the playoffs. That's kind of my thoughts in the NBA Eastern Conference landscape as of right now. So New York, they're doing a good thing. I truly believe right now they're in a great position to represent the East.
Look, Molly, every offseason when teams are trying to get better, they got to go out and look at what? The team that just won the championship. And that was the Boston Celtics. And what did the New York Knicks go out there and do? They went and got Mikal Bridges, right? Stole him from Brooklyn. Then all of a sudden, you go out to do what? You got to match the Boston Celtics because they have perimeter. So you get Mikal perimeter play, you get Mikal Bridges, and what else do the Celtics have? They have a stretch big in Kristaps Porzingis. The New York Knicks, they go out and go get Karl Anthony Towns right before a training camp. When it comes to the New York Knicks, they're ready to make the Boston Celtics and the rest of the league smell like cologne. And I'm talking Issey Miyake or Bond number 9. You could pick whichever one you want. And don't come telling me anything about, what about their depth? They picked up Campaign, who, by the way, was a key part of for the Phoenix Suns when they made their run to the NBA Finals when they lost to the Milwaukee Bucks. Deuce McBride, what he showed us last year in the postseason, he's able to come in and have a six-man type of role. So what the Knicks have done, they got deeper, they got more skill with Karl Anthony Towns and Mikal Bridges, and hell yeah, they got enough to make a run to the NBA Finals and look at the Celtics eye to eye.
The starting five is very ideal for a championship contender team with the New York Knicks. At the one, you have Jalen Brunson, who's proven time and time again he is an NBA superstar, or you can debate borderline. I truly expect the Knicks to at least make a conference finals appearance. At the two, you do have Mikal Bridges, who was very successful with the Phoenix Suns, who plays 82 games a season, who is durable. Let's see how that works in the Tom Thibodeau scheme of things, of playing 40 to 48 minutes. At the three, you do have OG Anunoby as an ideal starting 3-and-D player in the NBA, who's 26 years of age, who's pretty much in kind of that young prime, which is very ideal, as we saw his performances last year, which he was a great fit for the Knicks. At the four, I fully expect Karl Anthony Towns to run the four, who is always his natural position. I'm glad with the last year or two they put him at the four. He's like an Anthony Davis. He needs to stay at the four, not too much wear and tear, who can stretch the floor, pick and pop on a mid-range or on the three-point shot, and also can run the five at time to times. But starting-wise, he needs to run the four. At the five, they do have Mitchell Robinson. I know there are different trade rumors of potentially moving on from him in his contract to bring in another center. I do not blame the Knicks if they do so. If they can get a veteran center to bring the championship foundation like a Jonas Valanciunas, who's out there with Washington, who are trying to move off his contract, I would make that deal. I think he would be a perfect fit, a tandem to run their five. Maybe Clint Capella from the Atlanta Hawks, maybe Steven Adams from the Houston Rockets. But if I'm the New York Knicks, I'm going for Jonas Valanciunas easily if I'm making that trade. Now, when it comes to their depth, they don't have much depth at all. I mean, those names, Miles McBride, Cameron Payne, Landry Shamet, they're all right players when it comes to the league, but when it comes to really bringing in a foundation, they need to fill out both a backup point guard, another small forward who plays 3-and-D, who can run that stretch four, and as well as another backup center as of right now. I mean, we'll see what happens. I know JaVale McGee's still out there as a free agent. Not a big name, but he could be a good backup center when it comes to them. Dorian Finney-Smith Jr., him with Brooklyn right now. Brooklyn's trying to unload it. They can bring him on. Dennis Schroeder is also a backup they could bring on if they make a trade with the Brooklyn Nets to continue that. But right now, it's still early. We'll see.
Yeah, I like what they've done also too, Perk, because you look at Mikal Bridges and you got Josh Hart, so you got two guys that you probably wanted to try to defend JT and JB with. You got a guy, Karl Anthony Towns, that can match up very well against Kristaps Porzingis. He's a stretch, as you mentioned. Now, it looks like they might be wanting to move on from Mitchell Robinson. We'll see how that plays out. But Jalen Brunson, yeah, I think they're better. But it all depends on the version of Karl Anthony Towns. Is he going to be motivated that he's gotten moved because he's basically the team said, yeah, we think we're better with Julius Randle and DiVincenzo than we are with Cat. Maybe it's a better fit for Ant-Man, but I do believe the Knicks have gotten better for the simple fact, Mikal Bridges, as you mentioned, Perk, and Cat. But if Cat's motivated, and I think he will be, because he wants to prove that he's a preeminent big. I think sometimes he shoots a little bit too many threes for me because I watched him put the ball on the floor because he has everything. He can put the ball on the floor, get to the rim. He got mid-range. He can shoot the three. Sometimes I think he falls in love with the three a little bit too much for my liking, Perk. But he's a phenomenal talent. But I understand what you're saying about they can look the Celtics eye to eye. But, man, there's that guy down. I think it's down. I think Philly is down from New York. Whatever the case may be, they got that big old guy from Cameroon, and they got PG. The East is about to get very, very interesting.
And again, the main title contenders I do have in the East, the Celtics, the New York Knicks, potentially the Philadelphia 76ers. I like their squad and their team. I just need to see more proven activity from Joel Embiid, especially Paul George. But I believe that team could potentially hit a conference finals, if not deep in the second round when it comes to it. Again, do not sleep on the Orlando Magic. I don't expect them to represent the Eastern Conference, but they could potentially take a conference finals appearance. Especially they brought in KCP, and then you have the emergence of their young stars. Milwaukee, I don't believe in that team. They're older, as once again, they don't have any depth whatsoever. No serious names when it comes to it. The Miami Heat still have yet to make another move. I don't like Terry Rozier as their starting point guard. That's not an ideal championship contending team. I think they're pretty much on their way out, a first or second round exit when it comes to it.
Well, the East is definitely interesting, and I get where y'all are coming from. Listen, I'm excited, but I'm cautiously excited. And here's the deal. First of all, Big Perk, I'm not going to say that the Knicks stole Mikal Bridges, because not only did you trade Bogdanovich, you traded 5 first-round picks, 4 of them unprotected. So I'm not going to say they stole him from Brooklyn, but they got him, and I wanted him, and damn it, you know what? Mikal Bridges is definitely an upgrade. When you talk about Karl Anthony Towns, you're talking about arguably the best shooting big man in history. He's a legit 6'11". He's a career 39.8% shooter from three-point range. 5 of his 9 years in the league, he has shot better than 40% from three, including last season when he shot 41.6% from three-point range. When I think about Brunson having the ball and kicking it to him being a catch-and-shoot guy that he can be, okay, as opposed to somebody like Julius Randle who wanted to dribble as opposed to catch and shoot, etc. I think that helps the fluidity of the New York Knicks offense, makes them incredibly more formidable. I totally agree with you in terms of their bench. McBride, I think he can give them a little bit something. I love the pickup of Campaign. I even like Precious Achiuwa. I like him in the lineup coming off the bench, all right? I like his promises. And then I think about Mitchell Robinson coming back, and ultimately you having that additional big man that really puts Cat at the 4, because he's really not a 5, he's really a 4. So I'm looking at it from that standpoint. I think it makes the Knicks better. I think it makes them more formidable. They can definitely win the East. So here's the question. Who's the favorite? It's clearly going to be Boston. They're going to be the favorite, particularly if Porzingis is healthy. Now we get to the second part.
Hey, want to know how I got this $50,000 check for an accident I was involved in over 5 months ago? Look,
I know they picked up Paul George. And I know that with what the Knicks acquired, the Knicks could beat anybody. I think they could beat the Sixers. But when we talk about favorites, I want to remind everybody that Joel Embiid averaged 35 in the playoffs on one leg against the Knicks.
Yes.
On one leg.
Yeah,
now,
okay.
I have to take this. I have to also take this into consideration. They say, what does they say, Perk? He lost about.
Yeah, I get he was hurt, and I'm not going to fault too much on that, but you got to remember the Knicks did not have Julius Randle. And the New York Knicks, and the Philadelphia 76ers, Game 2, and there was another game in there that Philadelphia should have won both of those games, but they let the game slip, and they let New York come back. Philadelphia's just not a mentally tough team, and you're really going to have the emergence of their young star to come out, and Tyrese Maxey, and really take on that leadership role. Because Joel Embiid, he can't really take that crown as of there. He's not made a conference finals. Paul George is not a number one option. He doesn't have a strong leadership capability. So Tyrese Maxey is going to have to really take on that alpha role when it comes to that team. Maybe too little too late. They did bring in some other nice pieces. You bring out Martin. You brought out Andre Drummond, Eric Gordon within the team. I like their foundation, but they still need more of a leadership when it comes to there. Nick Nurse is their new head coach. I like the direction when it comes to there, but we'll see a little further.
25 to 30 pounds so he could be healthier. They said he lost about 25 to 30 pounds. So what I'm going to do is take everybody on a best case scenario. The New York Knicks fully loaded versus the Philadelphia 76ers with a healthy Joel
Sixers.
Embiid. All right, the
Sixers.
Philadelphia 76ers, right? I'm saying I can't dismiss that. Can the Knicks beat them? Yes. But Boston and Philly would be the favorites over them.
I'm going to disagree there. Again, tier 1, I'm going to have the Boston Celtics with the New York Knicks. Tier 2, I'm going to have the 76ers with the Pacers and Magic. Tier 3, the Bucks, the Miami Heat, and the... Who am I forgetting? And the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think people are really sleeping on the Orlando Magic when it comes to that. And yeah, watch out for the 76 or watch out for the New York Knicks and the Boston Celtics. 76ers, let's see what they can prove within the season when it comes to that. But overall, New York's in a great position to represent the Eastern Conference. Let's see what other moves they make to bring in some backups when it comes to it.